SUVs have gotten completely out of control. Family haulers that make over 600 horsepower. Off-roaders with 0 to 60 times of less than 3 seconds.
Over the last few decades, manufacturers have doubled down on keeping the sport at the forefront of SUV.
These are the fastest SUVs of all time.
And stick around to the end, because the last one on the list is living proof that it's probably time they start to chill out.
My name's Brad.
And I'm Trav.
Welcome to Idealist, and let's
get
go.
We couldn't start this off without paying tribute to the machine that started it all. Because if GM hadn't lost their minds in the 90s and built this, chances are there wouldn't be a reason to make this video. Built from 1992 to 1993 and powered by a turbocharged 4.3-liter V6, it was capable of making the sprint to 60 in, according to Car and Driver, just 5.3 seconds thanks to its 280 horsepower and 360 pound-feet of torque. I know that doesn't sound like crazy power today, but back in the 90s, the Typhoon, and more specifically its Cyclone brother, was quick enough to take down Ferraris. It's the compact SUV that showed the world sport utility vehicles didn't necessarily have to be great off-road to be huge fun, and the rest of the trucks on today's list owe it for that.
And guys, GM didn't stop there, because just recently they released this. Between the fenders of the new Escalade V lives a nasty 6.2-liter supercharged V8 that churns out a jaw-dropping 682 horsepower and a meaty 653 foot-pounds of torque. That propels this massive SUV to 60 in just 4.4 seconds. While it's electronically limited to just 124 miles per hour, it's still not an SUV that you want to race. I'll bet you've never seen anything that big move that fast. The original Escalade was always powerful, but this new Escalade V is on another level.
Fast forward to the turn of the century when the SUV craze was in full swing, and the madmen at Mercedes gave us this, the ML55 AMG. While not as quick as the Typhoon, it was no slouch. Powered by a naturally aspirated 5.4-liter V8 and tuned by the folks at AMG, this body-on-frame bruiser was capable of a 0 to 60 time of just 6.6 seconds, and would accelerate all the way to 144 miles an hour. And with its fully independent suspension, it drove more like a Grand Tourer than a mud-plugging 4x4. And Mercedes never lost the plot.
Fast forward to the GLE 63S. Like its ML predecessor, the GLE, well, it has a V8. But unlike the old truck, it's got a pair of turbochargers and a 48-volt mild hybrid system. And that boosts output to 624 horsepower and a mind-blowing 811 foot-pounds of torque, which means 60 comes in 3.7 seconds, and a top speed of an electronically limited 174 miles per hour. Yeah. And guys, if you're curious how much any of these ideal rides costs, I've linked to all of them down in the comments below. Maybe you'll find your ideal ride.
With German rivals BMW and Mercedes getting in on the SUV game, Porsche decided they wanted some of the fun for themselves. And while P-car purists were divided on whether or not the Cayenne was a real Porsche, once the Cayenne Turbo S rolled out of the factory and onto the test track, I don't think anyone really had anything left to doubt. Under the hood lies a twin turbocharged V8 that catapults you from 0 to 60 in a blistering 4.5 seconds. But raw power doesn't tell the full story. What really set Porsche's SUV apart from the pack was its handling. It's nimble and genuinely fun to drive. Of all the SUVs on this list, the Cayenne, in my opinion, does the best job of blending near supercar speed and top-tier luxury with genuine off-road capability. Plus, it'll cruise at its maximum speed of 165 miles an hour all day.
And the Cayenne just keeps getting spicier, because the newest flavor of Cayenne Turbo, called the Turbo E Hybrid, is the hottest one yet. A genuine tour de force in the high-performance SUV arena, packing a formidable 4-liter twin-turbo V8 engine that bolsters an electric motor. It unleashes a staggering 729 horsepower and 700 foot-pounds of torque, capable of blasting to 60 in just 3.5 seconds. It's one of the quickest SUVs on today's list. Let's go.
The original X5, particularly the X5 48i, has always been a relatively quick, great handling SUV. The first in its class to ditch the heavy body-on-frame construction in favor of a full unibody. 360 horsepower and a 0 to 60 time of 5.8 seconds was nothing to scoff at. But when the crazed engineers at the M division got their hands on it in 2010, it was transformed into an absolute monster. twin turbochargers, 4.4 liters and 8 cylinders produce 555 horsepower. Good for a 0 to 60 of just 4.4 seconds.
And BMW, rated M because they were just getting started. Today, you can get an X5 with 617 horsepower. It's called the X5M Competition, and it is not messing around. With sport-tuned adaptive suspension, Trick M-tuned all-wheel drive, and 6-piston fixed caliper brakes, it's not only quick in a straight line, but it'll set lap times that make bona fide sports cars blush. Whew! Capable of a top speed of 177 miles per and blasting to 60 in just 3.7 seconds, this X5 is like an M5 on stilts, and I'm here for it.
When you think Jeep, chances are you think this, not this. When Chrysler spun up the street and race technology team, I'm not sure they ever really envisioned a fire-breathing Jeep to come of it. Then again, it's Chrysler, so kind of amazed we haven't gotten a Hellcat Pacifica, honestly. The Grand Cherokee SRT8 model made 420 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque with its 6.1-liter Hemi V8 engine. It had higher compression, a revised camshaft, improved cylinder heads, and a high-flow intake manifold. No low-range transfer case, no trail-rated suspension, none of the off-road goodies Jeep buyers have come to expect. And in their place are beefy sway bars, big Brembo brakes, massively bolstered sport seats, and a free-flowing 4-inch exhaust system. And while 0 to 60 time of just 4.9 seconds was impressive, it's got nothing on the new version.
This. Now this is the result of a one-night stand between a regular Cherokee and a Hellcat gone wrong. Or maybe they're married now and are living the happiest life, I don't know. But the result was the Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. This is what happens when the deranged crew of Mopar men responsible for performance vehicles within the company have too much time on their hands. Because it wasn't enough to just slap in the 707 horsepower supercharged V8 from a Hellcat, they rounded it out with massive 16-inch brakes, Bilstein shocks, and meaty 295 performance tires all the way around. Toss in a limited slip diff and a delicately tuned traction control, and the Trackhawk is good for a 0 to 60 time of a staggering 3.3 seconds, baby. Also, shout out to the Durango SRT Hellcat, which offers basically the same performance and has seating for 7.
Back in 2006, Land Rover launched the original Range Rover Sport, the slightly lighter, tighter, nimbler version of the full-size range. And when equipped with a 4.2-liter supercharged V8 plucked straight out of the Jaguar parts bin, it mostly lived up to its name. It had sharper handling, optional active sway bars, and big Brembo brakes. 0 to 60 comes in at 7.2 seconds, which wasn't exactly quick even back then. But unlike most of the quicker SUVs on this list, it gave up virtually none of its off-road capability. While the old one won't exactly set your hair on fire in terms of sheer speed and power, it paved the way for the ludicrously quick Range Rovers we have today.
Range Rovers like the most recent SV. The new for 24 Sport SV is without a doubt one of the best looking SUVs of all time, and it's powered by the same 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 that BMW sticks in the X5M. It makes 626 horsepower, hits 60 in 3.6 seconds, and will climb all the way to 180 miles per hour. And guys, now that is ideal. And before we get to the last two on this list, let's hit a couple of honorable mentions, shall we? Okay, listen, there are a lot of quick SUVs. EVs like the Mustang Mach-E GT, the Tesla Model X Plaid, the Fisker Ocean Extreme, not to mention offerings from brands like Polestar and of course the upcoming Lucid Gravity. Then there's Kia, Rivian, and even Lotus throwing themselves into the super fast EV SUV ring. And there's a whole bunch of stupid fast gas-powered and hybrid options we haven't hit too. You know, like the Jaguar F-Pace, Aston Martin DBX, Bentley Bentayga, Audi RS Q8, Maserati Levante, and what might be the craziest production non-EV SUV, the Ferrari Purosangue. The list goes on and on. In fact, if you guys have enjoyed this video, maybe we'll make another one highlighting some of the trucks we missed. Let us know down in the comments and hit that like button. If we get to 27,000, well, we'll definitely make it. But there are two more that we'd like to highlight today, starting with the Lamborghini Urus.
Okay, hold on. You can't talk about the Urus without mentioning Lamborghini's first attempt at a performance SUV, the LM002, the Rambo Lambo. Conceived in the late 80s, the LM002 was built as a potential bid to replace the aging fleet of US military Jeeps. Thankfully, the contract was awarded to AM General and we got the Humvee instead. The original LM002 was powered by a 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V12, the same one you got in a Lamborghini Countach, but its 420 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque wasn't enough to make it exactly sporty. While it was capable of crushing 60 in 7.8 seconds, its dry weight of just under 6,000 pounds meant there was a lot to be desired in the handling department.
Unlike its successor, the Lamborghini Urus. Like the Bentley Bentayga, the Urus rides on the same platform as the Audi RS Q8. But unlike the Bentley that doubles down on pure luxury, the Lambo triples down on straight up speed. 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, the quarter mile in just over 11.3. And in terms of sheer cornering grip, the Lambo is up there with the absolute best of the best. Okay, so I hope by now you figured out that SUVs, well, they need to chill. But just in case you haven't, well, picture this. You're sitting in traffic, and the distracted soccer mom behind you, driving her Hummer EV, drops her phone. In her attempt to pick it up, she lays on the gas, or, well, the accelerator. And suddenly, you have over 9,000 pounds of rubber, steel, and glass barreling through you and onto 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. Okay, I know it's kind of unlikely, but the point is, so many of these trucks that weigh in the neighborhood of 6,000 pounds have gotten ridiculously fast. And I can think of a few scenarios where a vehicle that heavy with that much power probably isn't the most ideal situation for people like you and me cruising along in our 20-year-old Miatas. All I'm saying is that it's probably time for SUVs to chill out. But I'm only one guy, so what do you guys think? Should sub 3 second 0 to 60 times be reserved for purpose-built sports cars? Or are you glad you can pick up an old Cayenne Turbo and go antagonize Mustangs? Let us know in the comments below. Also, go check out the Ideal store, which I'll link to right here. And check out this Ideal vid up here, or whatever YouTube recommends you watch next down here. I'm Brad, this is Ideal, and promise me one thing, keep living the Ideal lifestyle.